Okay, welcome to a special episode of the African Five-A-Side podcast. Today I'm joined by a very, very special guest. They call you the son of the soil. They call you the prodigal son. I'm here with Rhulani Mokwena. Thank you for agreeing to doing this interview.
Welcome. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be with you.
It's been a few months since you've been in Algeria, and I can't lie. When I heard that you were coming here, got very, very excited because I've been following you for several years now. We first spoke for an interview, I think, back in 2023. What have been your impressions of being in Algeria for the first few months so far?
Yeah, it's the country is a great country. I think also from the sense that we have very good political relations between South Africa and Algeria makes it even better because the people are warm. We've been well received, and I think there's the level of the football in the country is exceptionally high. And so far, I think it's been a good test, a great challenge, tactically with the different opponents but a lot of very similar playing styles and tactical challenges that we find in each and every single match. But yeah, it's been good. So far, so good.
When you coach abroad, and it's your second consecutive year coaching abroad for the very first time in your career, those 2 years, how much of a chance do you get to actually see the country, do a little tourism, sightseeing, interact with people, or are you just insulated in your facilities and just doing football?
Very, very little, and I think maybe that's a many people would say is a big weakness of mine. I mean, already I don't even have a place to stay.
You've been staying at the club.
Yeah, I live in the club facilities. The president keeps trying to motivate me to find a place of my own where I can, have a bit more space and also be inducted into the lifestyle and the society. But I find it so much easier because I'm at the office very, very early in the morning. And I'm at the office till very, very late in the evening. So to walk from the pitch to my office is a couple of seconds, and then from my office to my hotel bedroom is 30, 40 seconds. So I find it extremely convenient for me because my hours are a little bit abnormal. And I like it like this, I like it like this. I'm extremely invested. I want us to be very, very successful. And of course, I think that comes at a price.
100%. So maybe this next answer is going to be a little bit challenging for you, but a non-football answer, please. What's maybe one thing that you've enjoyed the most, and maybe one thing that you found the most challenging just from being in Algeria?
Non-football.
Not football.
My mind is football. No, but I think I've found the people very, very warm. The president of the club is a great man. I'm actually very, very fortunate. I was saying this the other day that I think I've worked for and maybe that's because it's always a prayer that I make in always when I think about a new job opportunity. One of the things that is very, very important to me is to work with and for good people. And I'm actually very fortunate that I work for a very, very good man, very invested, humble. And I'll make an example, something that actually even gave me even a greater sense of the heart of the man is when he invited the previous coach Benyaya to
really cool.
to Zerelda. I don't know of many presidents who would do this. That the former coach who left having won a league title was because of circumstances, was unfortunate not to be part of the celebration. But he honored the man in a private setup and in a private event, paid for his travel, his accommodation, invited the man to spend a few days, a few hours with him, and honored him and thanked him for the league title. And for me, I don't know of many club presidents would.
It's a very classy move, and I think it also shows that when you leave on good terms, it's not always the case in club football. But when people make an exerted effort to leave on good terms, I think that's indicative of the character of somebody as well, for sure.
But it's never easy to leave. 100%. So leaving in itself already causes a bit of friction.
Yep.
And to have a president that puts himself above that, above the fact that we have parted ways, whether or good or bad, because when things are good, you don't part ways. And so there has to be some form of disagreements, whatever it might have been. But for him to put himself above that and say it goes beyond just football, for me, I have big respect for the president of Mamelodi.
Okay, let's talk about your club, Mamelodi Club of Algiers, MC of Algiers. It's kind of an underrated club on the continent, in my opinion. Not in Algeria, but around the rest of the continent. Would you say so? Let me throw something at you.
Yes.
Biggest company in Africa, Sonatrach,
yes,
owns the club in terms of revenue. Biggest company in Africa. I think it's at $80 billion a year. Own stadium, state-of-the-art stadium that was constructed the last 2-3 years. You have a pretty decent training complex where you're staying.
Incredible training facility.
Champions League title, 1976, just the one, but that's not nothing as well.
Yeah.
Again, like, were you almost... when you came here, did you almost realize that the club is maybe bigger than you thought it was? Because from the exterior, I don't think it has the respect that it deserves.
I agree with you. And I think very modest also. The people that support it, the people that are involved in the club are extremely humble and very modest. And I think maybe that's what leads to this perception. But I also think that it's a club with great potential from the outside. And also, really, from a South African perspective, not a lot of people speak about MC Algiers. In fact, there's many other clubs that have maybe more of a tag and popularity amongst the continent from Algeria more than MCR. But if you look at what the club has achieved, if you look at where the club is at this moment in time. You see a club that has a lot of potential. What you can also see is that it's a club that maybe has underachieved into a certain,
particularly in the interclub competitions.
Exactly. For an example, this qualification for the group stage is for the first time that the club does it back to back. For the first time, the club does it back to back. Last season was group stage qualification, and this season is the second group stage qualification, and so it's the fifth group stage qualification in the last, I think, 10, 15 years or so. And for a club of this magnitude, it is not enough, And we are clearly in a very, very good space in understanding this, and understanding that we want to try to increase the status and the respect that the club gets from an African and maybe even from a global perspective. Yeah, but that's going to take a time, and it's going to take a lot of hard work.
For sure, and there's been momentum definitely in the last 2-3 years, even prior to your arrival.
Yeah,
that the club is heading in the right direction. Particularly, I think, with the arrival of this new president.
Yeah.
When you drive around the city, I know you don't get much time to go into Algiers, but do you see the graffiti? Do you see the tags? Do you realize? Does that sort of give an indication of how big the club is here in Algiers?
Yeah. You get a clear understanding of that. It's not just supported. Many of the supporters understand it as a way of life, and you can see that. You see it in the stadiums. You see it. You also see it in the players. You see it in the.
You can tell it means something to
yeah. So to a lot of our players, you can see the captain Abdullahi. You can see the club means a lot. I see his locker room, the stickers on his locker room. I see the pictures that he posts in his house with his son. I see a lot of affiliation to the club, and I see in how when they in the bus they sing the songs, and it's not just singing the songs. it evokes certain emotions, and you cannot help but absorb these emotions when you are part of them.
Is it heavy on you because you're given the responsibility, essentially, at least on the pitch, of a club that means so much to so many people? And I again, like, there are clubs like this all over the continent, all over the world. This club, was the first club for Algerians in 1921. They call it themselves the Dean, the leaders, the very first. So this means something to not only this generation, but their parents and their parents' parents. Is that a heavy responsibility on you?
They say blessings and burdens are cousins. So it's an incredible honor. I consider myself extremely privileged. But of course, the blessing of carrying that responsibility comes with the burden of understanding that you cannot fail, and you cannot let people down, and that in itself is also a privilege and an honor, because it's something that's not bestowed upon a lot of people. And also to arrive in a time where we have this generation that I consider a very good generation of players, a generation of players that has been together for quite some time now, 2-3 years, maybe going into their 4th year. And some of the players like Zino, Farad, Ben Kamesa, they've played together even from youth days. Players like Naiji, Bugera, they were together in Paradu also in the youth days. So there's a very strong chemistry bond amongst them, and they've reached a point in their careers where they are about to enter their twilight, in their most important years in their careers. And to be the coach to work with them in this particular period, I consider an extremely blessed moment, But as I say, it's one that, and that's why I make the sacrifices that I make, because I understand the magnitude of the responsibility.
And over the last 2 years, you've been coaching at 2 very popular clubs, Wydad of Casablanca and MC of Algiers. In North Africa, I imagine, is a little bit different than coaching in South Africa. Can you maybe talk about the centrality of the football supporter here, the importance that they have? Because I think all clubs, even the most sanitized Arsenal, they consider fans stakeholders and stuff like that. But it's kind of different. Like, popular pressure means something here, right? If you lose a few matches and the fans get mad, even people in the board fear that as well, right?
Yeah.
How's that been experienced? Sort of experiencing that.
Well, fortunately, in
Mulu,
you haven't had that experience yet. But in Wydad, Wydad was a big factor. I think, and it's a pity because just the other day I got a message from an ultra, and one of the ultra fans of Wydad, and they were celebrating that 2025 is a year where they are actually unbeaten in Botola, and he actually sent me a screenshot of the results, and he said to me, "Thank you very much for laying this foundation, because we, at the time when our first game of the year, we went 5 wins in a row, then went 7 draws in a row, so we were 12 games unbeaten at the point where we decided actually the noise and the pressure was too much, and it got more to the board than to the president, because and this is what in the message, one of the fans who's a staunch fan, he was one of the guys that actually came to have a meeting with us when we actually lost to Mas at home, and he came to speak to the coaches, and he came to speak to the players representing the ultras, and he's one of the fans that I really felt in the good moments was extremely supportive, and in the bad moments was even more supportive.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
And but the feeling I got in Morocco was that it was not a football decision. It was a pressure decision, and in fact, I know this for a fact that the relationship I have with the president, who I also consider an incredible. Yeah. No, I still have direct access to him. I speak to him quite a lot, and I'm fortunate enough to do this, because I don't think that I have the same type of relationship even with my previous bosses in South Africa. But it's because of the work that we did, and it's because of the human qualities that the man possesses. I think we are very, very lucky to have him as a president.
So the last interview we did was in 2023.
Yeah.
And I remember I think my first question to you was, what inspires your philosophy? How do you guys play this attacking football? It was a very generic, basic question. And you answered something that I was sort of taken aback by. You said, you play the style of football that you do because Sundowns as a club require you almost to play that kind of football. It's in the DNA of the club.
Yeah.
Shoeshine and piano and everything. When you signed with MC of Algiers, did they tell you we want to play this style of football? Or was it not so much that clear? Because for me, I can tell you, somebody that's been watching them from afar, it's not like they has such a homogeneous style of play as Sundowns have. That's their brand for the last decade or so. So what about MCA?
Interesting question. And maybe let me take you a little bit back to what informed my decision, because my decision to come here was on two fronts. One was competing in the Champions League and having seen what the club did last season in the Champions League. Quarterfinals and
by one goal.
Yeah, and very close. The performance was very strong. And to build from that was an enticing opportunity. But there was an event that took place that in the back of my mind, I think consciously or subconsciously, regardless of whether it was conscious or subconscious, I think this event put a mark in the back of my head, and it was at that moment where I said I will be back in Algeria. And this was when we actually played CRB with Sundowns. And in the beginning, it was extremely hostile. We felt like the away team, but there was a time where we were so dominant on the pitch that the fans of CRB actually adopted us and chanted "Ole, ole" after every pass, "Ole, ole," and I loved that. I loved the fact that foreign to many clubs, there was a sense of appreciation for the style of football. And that already said to me that I think culturally in Algeria there is a very deep, and this might be mainly, and I don't know so much about the history and something we've touched on already, but this might be because of the strong Spanish influence in Mediterranean, exactly, in Algeria, that you find, and I've seen this already. I've seen that there is an appreciation for symphony, for football, for and you feel this when we play, and you feel this when we pass the ball and keep possession. You feel this, and sometimes in North Africa, what gets more of an applause and appreciation is the tackles and the hard running and all of this. But in Algeria, there seems to be a very, very deep appreciation for good football. And this is something that has impressed me a lot.
At the time of recording, Mamelodi Club of Algiers have played 8 matches. You have 7 victories. You have 1 draw. 10 goals for, 3 goals against. You've qualified to the CAF Champions League group stages, as mentioned. This is one of the best ever starts in club history. But more impressively, perhaps, I don't think people, especially if the South African audience is watching, I don't think people understand the challenges that you've had to deal with at the beginning of the season in particular, because it coincides with the African Nations Championship, which deprives you of several senior players. You are supposed to play CR Belouizdad, which is a tough match. That match gets postponed. You end up playing a derby of Algiers against USM of Algiers, which is always a tough match, no matter what. And on top of all of that, due to circumstances, as you said, or crowd trouble from last year, you played really the beginning of the season without any home supporters. And I can tell you that here in North Africa, in Algeria, that means so much. It's incredibly important. Can you maybe talk about that baptism of fire, those first 2-3 weeks? How difficult was it?
It's a few months. It's the first 2 months. In fact, I think we've only just started coming out of this, because another unfortunate aspect to this is the long list of injuries that we suffered. And Bangura being out, one of our best players and top goal scorer. We
Zugrana,
have Zugrana, Khalif, Menezla, now Bushrid also.
Half of them starters.
Most of them are starters. In the last game, I had Gendous having to sit out, and we had the number one Algerian goalkeeper. And so we've suffered quite a bit with regards to injuries. And then in the beginning also, when we started the season, we had 7 players out in the national team. We lost Boras also.
Such a good player. I love that player. Incredible. Sorry, I know you didn't get a chance to coach him.
No, but I watched a lot of the games. I mean, I think had 13 goal contributions. Incredible left foot. A great capacity to dominate the pitch with an incredible engine. Gets into the one box and has influence. Gets into the other box and has influence defensively. And then of course you're working with a lot of the youngsters from word go, and but we had a lot of support from the president. There's a lot of support we got from the senior players that were there at that time. I also got to know a lot of the players better, because it's in the difficult moments where you actually see true characters, true characters of the individuals, like the captain, like Naiji, like Tabti, and I got to understand who they really are, and that was very important for me, because I could gather information very, very quickly about the squad, about what the players can do and can't do, but fortunately, alhamdulillah, we are in a very good position where I think we can become even better. Of course, I am under no illusions. I understand football very, very well now, having coached many big clubs, and I've been fortunate to coach many big clubs. I've coached Orlando Pirates, an incredible institution, a club that is, in fact, I'm fortunate that I've coached 2 clubs that are very close to my family and my heart, in Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates. And I can tell you that it's been something that has been like a gradual growth, where I face certain challenges and tests that allow me to be better for my next job. And what I faced at Pirates was a preparation for what I would face at Sundowns. What I faced at Sundowns was a preparation what I would face in Wydad. And what I faced in Wydad was a preparation and with different aspects of my job, from a training methodology perspective to a tactical refinement of my game model and the principles, to player management, to supporter and club management, to upward management and downward management and horizontal management, to transfer activity and player recruitment and scouting. And so a lot of the things I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for my time at Orlando Pirates, because that prepared me. Grateful for my time at Sundowns, because that prepared me. Grateful for my time at Wydad, and extremely grateful for my time here, because I feel that I'm a better coach, and I'm a better person, and hopefully with the next few years here, I can continue to grow and also continue to help the club to grow.
For me, the bonus on top of all of that, though, is the record. I mean, to be top of the table with 3 matches in hand, because we didn't say it on camera. Maybe people don't know. Incredible. You've talked about Algerians maybe having an affinity for technical football. I think that's very true, actually. South Africans definitely play very good technical football as well. However, there's a little bit of a contradiction, a little bit of a paradox, I think, because sometimes we associate technical football with goals.
Yes.
This year in the Algerian League, as at the time of recording,
Yeah.
16 teams have scored 161 goals, which is 10 goals per team, which averages out to about a goal a game.
Yep.
If we take the South African DStv Premiership, 128 goals in 66 matches. They're averaging about 2 goals per game.
Yeah.
I often think of the Algerian league similar to maybe the French league, where the ball's usually between the lines.
Yeah.
Teams are almost more scared of losing than wanting to win.
Yeah.
And I also sometimes, like, it's not the Premier League, it's not the Eredivisie, you know, with that kind of. How have you lived that sort of contradiction, that paradox? Is it is it difficult to deal with?
No, actually not. It's actually very interesting because first, from a technical perspective, for me as a coach, one of the most challenging aspects of coaching is the hardest thing in football is scoring goals. I mean, we have to be very clear on this. And that's why the players that play closer to your offensive box,
they get paid the most.
They get paid the most money. And that's because in any profession, the guys that do the most difficult jobs need to be the most skilled. And the most skilled normally need to be the highest paid. You have to compensate them as per their skill set. And this is also true in football. Above that, I think finding solutions to play against a reinforced defensive block, what we call parking the bus for coaches, is probably the most difficult aspect in our coaching curriculum, in our jobs, because there's a lot that gets. I mean, just this season already, you hear Arne Slot of Liverpool complaining about the fact that every team seems to sit back against them and play on transition. And also Pep Guardiola last season suffered some similar things and made very similar comments about how football has moved in this direction where it's a lot more about verticality, it's a lot more about directness, and teams adopt this style of play now. You know,
Walid Regragui, just a quick aside, 17 games unbeaten, world record.
Yeah.
But the last few matches, they've only won 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, and he's being highly criticized because of their inability to break down the low block. And
it started last season already, and I was very surprised already when I was in Morocco to hear this because, incredible, this run of form. And of course, I think when I watch, they've got an incredible squad of players. I think the coach is doing incredible work. But of course, I think Morocco also, funny enough, is, and I will get back to this, and I hope we have time a bit about this technicality and where I think it derives from. But the best part of this, just to get back to the topic, the best part of what I find in the Algerian league is that I personally, as a technician, I get challenged a lot on finding solutions to beat a low block. And I get always excited by this. It's something that I would not find all the time in South African football. In South African football, the majority of the teams are very transitional, as particularly when they play against the big teams like Sundowns, Pirates, for sure. But you would still get teams, for an example, we would go play Royal AM, and a coach like John Maduka, for an example, who would be very fearless and very open. Or we'd play Chippa United and you'd hear the coach saying, we want to go pound for pound. And I liked these type of open games. But then you'd play John Maduka or Chippa United on a Tuesday. And on a Sunday, you'd have to play against a low block of Supersport United. And then the adaptation in the preparation is a completely different. But here, you play Saura on Tuesday, it's a low block. A very, 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 very low block, very aggressive, very structured, and with incredible threat on transition. You then review the game. The review of the game allows you to then prepare the training for the week. That then leaves you to prepare for the next opposition. And against Al Bayad, it's a low block again. So you get tested in these ways to find solutions constantly. And I think this will make me a much better coach after this season.
You know what? I think particularly in the Champions League, because a team like Saura, which is not a bad team. I think they're top 4 at the moment or something like that. But in Algeria, I remember looking at the league table 3 years ago.
Yeah.
every single team in the league, 1 to 16,
Yeah.
had either a winning record or
Yeah.
a neutral record at home, even number 16.
Yeah.
And every single team had either a winning or a neutral record or losing record away from home. And so this home away factor that happens a lot in the CAF Champions League as well.
It's big. It's huge here. And I think that there's a study that I saw when I studied the league just before I made the decision to join Mamelodi, was that I think you've got a 33% chance of winning away from home, something like this. And fortunately, we've won quite a few games away from home. And some tough games like away to Agbo, for an example. And I don't think many teams will get wins in Agbo. The conditions are very, very difficult. Al Bayad is they might be bottom of the table, but Khenchla is very, very difficult. But so for me, I look at the positive. The positive is that I refine some of my beliefs, my principles, my way of thinking about and finding solutions in playing against the reinforced defensive block. And I like this because I like to study the game. I like to refine and improve certain things. But I do think where it stems from is this. Okay, first is I think it's very difficult in some of the stadiums, and I see that there's a lot of work being done in trying to modernize the stadiums, trying to get teams to play in better facilities, and I think that would be good for Algerian football. I think the standard of the games will improve, the quality of the football will improve, so the product will get better. I think one of the things that the Algerian league does already very, very well is that they've standardized the ball that is being used, which I think is very, very important for technical consistency and application. So that's something I like quite a lot. But I think with the playing surfaces and the stadiums, once the league gets that right, I think the product will get better. So I think that already also contributes to the low score lines. Is the difficulty in the pitches to find offensive technical application and the consistency in that. But I also think that the mentality and the turnaround of the coaches, that fortunately for me, I don't think I have this. I don't think I have this fear of losing my job. But I think a lot of coaches approach their jobs with this, I don't want 100%. To lose, because I don't want to lose my job.
Fear of losing outweighs the motivation of winning. 100%.
Exactly. And this then already makes the perspective of the coach move into a more defensive way, where everything starts with me and my team without the ball. But my perspective has always been, because of my upbringing and how I see football, my thinking, my principles are always centralized around me and my team having possession. And from there, what then starts to happen? You attack with security, of course, because the next phase from there is defensive transition. And so I start to think football this way, instead of without the ball and thinking offense. When we regain, what happens with, and I think a lot of coaches, because of this fear of losing jobs and we have to be honest, rightfully so, because there's a big turnaround of coaches, and I think that also contributes to what we see with the 1-0 score lines. I would love my team to score a few more goals. I think we create the total XG is actually 20.
And you've scored 10. So.
Yeah. So, but that's a huge underperformance. Yeah. And there's many reasons.
Something you
for
can
that.
work on, but
Of
I
course.
think there's also a little bit of maybe not as lucky.
Yeah.
Maybe the return of players like Bangura will help out for sure.
Yeah.
This season, you've used Osama bin Hawa, 23 years old.
Yeah.
Mahdi Bouchri, 23 years old. Yassin Hamadouche, 20 years old. Muslim Anatouf, 19 years old. Daniel Mahdid, I think he's 18. Rustam Dendawi, 20. Islam Sibous, 20. I've never seen a coach, particularly a non-Algerian coach, show so much trust to young players so quickly. I understand some of it is legalities and technical specifications from the league.
Yeah.
But what have those players shown you as well to earn your trust?
Yeah, I get goosebumps because I honestly think that they are the future of this club. and I say this, and I will wait for 5 years or so to see this group of players. And in fact, there's a lot more. Jakub Gassi is a right back that I think will have an incredible career. He's got an incredible engine, great physicality. Technically, okay, I think still has a bit of work to do in the final third, but he's a player that I think has got great potential. Hamadouche is a very interesting striker. His profile is very interesting. He's already got one very important thing for a striker, and that is, at that age, is something that you don't find a lot, even with very experienced strikers. But this is what makes a top striker, and that is an obsession with scoring goals. This kid wants everything in the pitch, in the training session. The boy is not interested in many other things, combination play and all these things. And that's now my job, and with the staff, is to try to refine his game, for him to understand that as a striker, you are not always going to score, but you have to always perform. And the best strikers in the world are strikers that don't receive happiness from just scoring, but they actually receive happiness from contributing to the performance of the team. And that means link-up play, pressing, runs behind.
We were talking about Harry Kane earlier.
Yeah. Harry Kane, Benzema, these are top strikers. But of course, they derive happiness like a goalkeeper from clean sheets, strikers from scoring goals. But a striker has to do more than just this in the modern game. And this is what has impressed me about Hamadouche, it's intrinsic. He has this, I want to score. And this is very important. The one striker I always had that has this is Peter Shalulile. And I like this appetite from a striker. And I think that's what's going to help him become a top striker. Anatuf has got incredible potential, speed, very good education and intelligence, which is very important. Where I think we have to improve a bit with Anatuf is to find him the right role, because he doesn't play very well, and that's also because of his low center of gravity and his physical profile. He doesn't play very well with his back to goal.
He's not a huge striker.
Yeah,
the wing is not really a natural.
And exactly, because he doesn't really have this ball carrying ability which you would need on the wing. So we have to find him a role, not really a position. It's clear that he's a very offensive player and he's inclined to play in somewhere around the final third. But I think we have to help him, and this is good because he's still very young. We have to find and define his role on the pitch. And I think once we can help him to do this, we will have a top player for the future. You have Daniel, who I think is very promising. Again, another player where we have to define the role, because I see him between the two lines, center back. I think even in the national team now, they play him at center back, and I can understand why. But I think you lose a little bit more of this technical influence that he has in tight areas, and his ability to find progressive passes. He's got a very good pass, very good intelligence. And I think we have to develop him in that sense. And we have Bubatash, who I think also is one player that is extremely interesting. So these kids have shown not just a desire, not just a lot of motivation, but and Rostom also. Rostom, I think, is going to be a top center back because he's got incredible physical qualities, strong in the duels, very fast for a center back, and that is very important in the modern game. Yeah, exactly. If you play for a big team, you have a very high line. You have to manage space behind, and I think he will develop into a big team center half. And that's very important. So there's a lot of promise. Hopefully they can stay humble. One of the things that you see with me is that they play one game and they disappear for a while. And that is just my way of managing their careers and just keeping them a bit grounded, never having the feeling that they've arrived and that they are superstars, and consistently challenging them to get better. And I think hopefully in the next 5 years, we will see them become very, very big players in the Algerian market.
I don't want to bore people, but I might ask you about a few more of your senior players.
Yeah.
Because I always thought about like somebody that doesn't watch Algerian football, somebody that doesn't know this player. If you see Larbi Tabti outside, you're thinking this is an uncle that's going to the mosque. And then he gets on the pitch. The guy is
special.
Technical ability is very, very high. And I want to ask you in particular, what went into the decision to playing him a little bit deeper maybe than he has in his career? I think everybody's really appreciated him in that role this year in the construction of play.
Again, a player, I get goosebumps. He's a player, I said to him, I wish I had met him earlier, maybe in his early 20s. I really wish. And not necessarily because I think that I could have had a bit more of an influence in his career, because I think fundamentally there are certain aspects in his game that had they been developed more, he's got some qualities that are not there. They are there, but they are not strong enough.
They haven't been developed.
They haven't been developed because I think he hasn't been made aware of these qualities, and that's it's not of his own doing. I think we as coaches, like I say, with the younger players, we as coaches, our first job is to improve the players, and I wish I had met Tabti a little bit earlier. Also for the fact that I would have known him for longer.
He's a good guy.
Very good person, incredible human being. I speak a lot to Tabti, even though sometimes we have language barrier issues, and I have to get Saeed to translate some of our conversations. But I have a lot of very, very good conversations with Larbi. An incredible person, very principled. I like that also. Very honest. I like that also, because that honesty off the pitch translates into honesty and integrity on the pitch. And I think he will become an incredible member of the community after his football career, a leader, whether through football or many other aspects, religion or the like. But what has made me or us as a technical staff play him a bit deeper is because of the importance of our build-up play. And we put a lot of that emphasis in that. And he has these qualities to be able to recognize space. He has the qualities to be able to understand and determine pressure, gauge the pressure. And that's important for a deeper player that really, because then if you can gauge pressure, you can then gauge the level of risk. And that also allows you to be able to make better decisions. And this is very, very important in areas closer to your box. So he's got a lot of the game intelligence and the qualities that allow us to be able to develop our game from deeper positions. And then also he has the chemistry and the courage to link up with Ben Kamesa and to link up with Ayub and Gazella, both Ayubs, and Gwendus in the first phase. But what I like is that even from you see the goal of El Bayad,
got into attack, and
he starts the move. Actually, he actually starts the move, and he gets into a position to finish the move. And this, for me, is the game of the present, where it's not necessarily extremely restrictive positionally, but it's players that are multifunctional. And he has these qualities.
Another tactical observation here, and obviously I'm not you or anything like that, but I've been watching Reda Halaimia for 9 years, since he was at MC Oran. He goes to Belgium. He was in the national team. I've never seen him play in an inverted role. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen any player play as an inverted fullback in Algerian football, which is maybe a little bit of a condemnation on Algerian football. What went into the decision to make him the inverted fullback and maybe not Bouguera, who's a natural right-footed playing on the left?
Very interesting. Well, initially in preseason, we played Bouguera as an inverted fullback, but inverted in the third line and not necessarily in the pocket of build-up responsibilities. And rest defense. Bouguera has a lot of very good qualities and one of his strongest offensive qualities that he's got an incredible strike on the ball. He actually shoots very well. Yeah. And also open play. I mean,
he scored one.
against,
dipped in front of the goalkeeper.
Was it Parado or Saura? He scored an incredible goal. Saura, yeah. He scored an incredible goal for us against Saura.
So that's why you want him in more advanced position.
More in the 10 pocket than in the 6-8 pocket. Reda, interestingly enough, when I watched him and his games last season, I saw how many goals he actually scored. But also, I have a very good relationship with a player that he played with in Belgium, Ramiro Vaca, who's a Bolivian player, and they were together and he spoke to me about Reda a lot. And when you see Reda's technical capacity is incredible. And for me to have a player with that amount of effortless technical application, he finds solutions for different scenarios and different pictures with his technique. And not a lot of players have this capacity that they can solve problems on the pitch technically. And this is actually the aim of football. This is why football is the game that it is, because of the influence of space and time. The less time players have, it means the less space that they have, and that means then technically you have to have the ability to solve the problems. This is fundamentally the number one problem-solving conundrum that you have in football. And then, of course, that's why technically the best players are the ones that play in the more condensed areas of the pitch. Because on the sides, even though you have the limitations from the touchline, you do not have as much influence on the game because the goal is a little bit more further away from you on the side, on the wide areas than it is in the central corridors. So I try to put a lot of the technically the best players, because those are the players that face the game's biggest challenges. We spoke about scoring goals, time and space, and that limitation, as you get closer and closer to the goal, you get less time and space. And so it's not just about trying to philosophize and trying to create new things, but it's also trying to use our players and the strength of our players in certain positions that allow us to be able to do certain things. I don't want to get too much into the tactics.
No, this is good.
But we do certain things with Reda in our build-up that will allow us to get into the final third with certain schemes and certain positions that will open up certain areas that we would like to see. This takes a bit of time.
100%.
But he's one of the players that I also think should be in the national team for Algeria.
So I want you to educate me a little bit here, and maybe everybody else watching, because we know. I know you don't have a set formation. I remember I was listening to a lot of interviews of yours before we did this, and you're talking about it was one of the off seasons at Sundowns where I think you started using a diamond formation. You said it suits better. I think you had Mshishi and everything. So I know you don't have a set formation, but you always talk about principles. What the hell are principles? Like, it's just like, educate me a little bit, because I've heard you talk about principles of width and depth. I've heard you like, is it like the 10 commandments? These are my principles. And then obviously how you apply that is going to depend on the opponent. It's going to depend on the players you have. But what are your principles? What are principles and what are your principles?
Principles are a good question. Principles, I'm trying to find a very simplistic way of explaining this to you. But what principles are is non-negotiables in a sense, from a technical perspective. Certain things that we want to try to do based on what outcomes we want to try to reach, or what outcomes we want to try to develop. We might not always reach because of the opposition, because of the pitches sometimes, because of I always say this to my players. It's something that I've adopted a lot from Guardiola. And if you take the game and you try to separate offense and defense, you're far. And a lot of people try to say, this is what we want to do in defense, and this is what we want to do in our offensive phase. But how I view it is, if I see how the opponent defends, I'd like to develop certain game forms that respond to the offensive or the defensive phase of the opponents. And how we will be able to construct that is going to influence how we will be able to defend ourselves. So those are the principles. For an example, when you speak of width and depth, which you mentioned, I am not very fond of width being a principle.
Teams can play very skinny. If the ball's on one side of the pitch, usually the other is
we tilt the pitch quite a lot because the principle is try to attack in a way that will allow us to defend better. That's the principle. And so I feel that if you lack compactness in attack, you will lack compactness in defense. So that is a principle for me as a coach. So I established these things. Is it a book? No, it's not a book, but I can tell you that my game model is a game model that has close to 350 pages of schemes, pictures, videos that I like to share with my players based on every part or format of the game, or in possession, out of possession, transition, and certain pitches we want to develop based on, and I say this quite a lot to people, not what we want to do, but it's based on what does the opposition look like? Where are the opposition players? Where are they positioned? Where are our players positioned? So the player's reference is my teammates. Where is the ball in this moment? And so consistent repositioning and positioning, and the repositioning of the ball, because it moves quite a lot, influences the positioning of the opposition, the positioning of my teammates. And that then says, where is the space? And so you try to educate the players to be able to identify the spaces where the ball has to go to next in relation to where the opposition have moved themselves from.
So it's impossible to say you have to be in this area of the pitch, you have to be in this area of the pitch. It's more like you're teaching them how to read the game almost,
yes,
to analyze.
And this is very important because where football is going is this dynamic occupation and dynamic reoccupation of space. And you see it a lot now in modern football. Bayern are big in moving in this direction. PSG are big in moving into this direction where Man City, Doku starts wide and dynamically inverts. Not statically stands in a position where in the past, Pep says, stay there, don't move, the ball will find you. But now is, can I move into the space, dynamically arrive and receive possession? And maybe I might not receive the ball after one or two passes, but the area we know that if we make one more pass, maybe there is possibilities that the opposition moves out and vacates these spaces. And this is based on analysis, and you try to find individual traits and common behavioral patterns and that's why I watch a lot of the opposition, 3-4 games of the opposition before we play them. And of course, it's easier when you know the league, you know the opposition more, you know the players better. So in your first season in the league, it's very, very difficult.
Heavy workload,
It's a lot of work, but you acclimatize and you try to understand if you play against, for an example, if you play against Paradu, you try to analyze Mohamed Taha, for an example, as a midfielder, and you say, how does he move on the pitch in and out of possession? And you try to find a lot of information about different players, So it's that's what I would say. I hope I have not confused you, but that is what I would say is principles, and that's a breakdown of what principles are. And we try to develop this in our training format, and that's why a lot of the training is not the same. Every day, cognitively, we challenge the players and we stimulate them to and you see with our players a lot. There's more cognitive fatigue than physical fatigue.
I went to the Club World Cup this summer, and I met with some people at Sundowns, and they said, honestly, coach, everywhere I go on the continent, African Cup of Nations, Club World Cup, I'm always asking about you because I'm always interested. What are people's experiences with you and everything? It's very interesting to see the wide range of opinions people have. But one of the things that the guy said at Sundowns was, never was one training session the exact same.
Yeah.
He was always able to stimulate the players, unless it was maybe tactical work where
Yeah.
repetition is necessary, but never was one training session the
Yeah.
same. That stuck with me. I think it's something that's going to stick with me for.
We repeat principles, but not the exercise.
Drills,
yeah. And we try.
What was the goggles? Because that went viral on social media this year.
Well,
the swimming goggles.
Well, after that, you saw the Italian national team
doing the same
doing
thing,
something very similar. But it stems from differential learning, and this I adopt a lot into our training curriculum, where the number one objective of differential learning is to try to make training more harder in the game, and that has a direct impact on the performance, where you try to stimulate different stress hormones,
increase stress levels,
exactly, so that when you are faced with the game of 11 versus 11 on the same size pitch, the stress of the game is less than the stress, and normally the game is a lot easier, and players are able to find solutions a little bit faster in the game. But that had a lot to do with the neuroscience, but also from a visual perspective, where you try to limit or impair the visual capacity of the players, because this has a lot to do physiologically, scientifically, biologically even, that when you impair a certain sense, different other senses are heightened. So players have to rely more on their capacity to hear,
teammates,
hear footsteps, smell pressure, hear passes, and feel the ball, the opponents, feel the space, the grass, because I believe that you need the five senses in football. You've got to be able to taste a good performance.
Taste is good.
Yeah, you have to taste a good performance. You've got to taste a good position. You've got to hear a good pass, and maybe because of the first thing that we try to develop in football is we want to see everything. But what happens when you try to restrict the capacity to see? What happens then? What do we then start to develop? And that's just a holistic way of trying to see whether or not, and I've done this before, even at Sundowns, and I saw incredible results. I did it before at Wydad. I saw incredible results. And it's just something that I felt I could experiment with. And I do quite a lot of different things, different sizes of the balls. I add a bit of stress with maybe 2-3 balls at the same time in different parts of the games. And so they call me crazy, but okay,
you're not crazy. Crazy in a good way. I'm going to challenge you now, if that's okay with you. So we talked about MC of Algiers. I have 3 things I want to challenge you on, okay? I think they're fair questions. You can tell me to screw up if they're not. But the first one is about career management. Okay,
yes.
So actually, I think the day after you signed, or it was announced at least to MC of Algiers, we were on a phone call with Ndile on, I think, Metro FM, and you said something along the lines of, I was considering a sabbatical, but then I thought I'd have more fun in Algiers. But I remember when we spoke in 2023, I was completely convinced that you're leaving South Africa one day. Okay, I didn't think it was going to be so soon. But I thought, honestly, in my mind, I was thinking, this guy's going to Europe, and if he's not going to Europe, maybe Al Ahly. And you go to a Wydad team that is not the Wydad team where they just won a CAF Champions League with Regragui. It's completely stripped down to the studs. You inherit 2 starters.
Yeah.
In North Africa too, that the pressure, and that the traditions of these teams, even MC of Algiers, which is a team that I appreciate and love, but they haven't had a coach stay on for more than 2 years this millennium, this century. Again, making these decisions for your career. Do you ever think like, okay, if it doesn't work out, on my CV, it's going to say that I was only here for 6 months, 12 months. Maybe somebody that's not really studying my career is going to judge me for that. Or do you always just take it, based on the best possible outcome or interest? Like, you say you don't regret it, but I just want your opinion about how do you choose a job? Like,
well, but there aren't many coaches who are fortunate enough to have a job like Wenger, Fergie, even Pep Guardiola now, or Jurgen Klopp, where you stay in a club for a very, very long time.
But some clubs have more traditions of firing coaches quickly than others in some areas of the world as
Yeah,
well.
and so that means that you will not, if you think like this, that means then you will not coach the big clubs, because Al Ahly are the same, Wydad are the same. Now you see Sundowns the last year, they've had 3 different coaches. Maybe the last 2 years, Sundowns have had 3 different. So it means if you think like this, you will be, and that's why I was saying in that interview with Andile, I said, I think I will have more fun in 6 months. If it lasts 6 months, I think I will, and I am correct. I am having a lot of fun in Algeria with training, with player management. I'm managing a very complex group, and I'm enjoying it. You know, I'm stimulating and pushing them to every single day is something that I am enjoying. Finding solutions to go and play against Saura, I'm enjoying. Finding solutions to go and win against Agbu, where the players say, no, sorry, we cannot build up on this pitch, coach. We cannot build up on this pitch. I say, no, you are going to build up on this pitch, and I will give you schemes and solutions for their press, for their block, for their mid to low. And this I'm enjoying, because that also stimulates me. It makes me a better coach. So
you're not worried about the CV, what it looks like?
Well, my CV is good,
it's
because
damn good,
I've worked for big clubs. And if you worry about your CV, then you are very selfish. And I don't have a very selfish outlook. My outlook is, can I go to Wydad and make an impression? And I think I have done that. I think even though people want to sometimes try to change this, I have, and I can tell you from some members of the board, from the president, if he was to stay for even longer, from some of the fans, I can tell you that there is a feeling that they would like me to come back. And that is not because they like me as a person, but I think there was a deep appreciation for the work that we did there. To the people who understand the game, I think that there is an appreciation and a feeling that the club would like me to stay longer than my current term in my contract in Mamelodi. I genuinely get that feeling from the club, from the fans, from the players themselves. Of course, that is going to be based on the results, for sure. But that is everywhere. Every job in Europe, you want to go to Europe, you stay because of the results.
My point is, though, like, you don't even hesitate to quote unquote step down. Even in Chippa United, like, it's kind of like, it's seen as a step down from our perspective, from the media perspective. You're looking at things technically from a coaching perspective. This is a challenge.
But Chippa was completely different, though.
COVID,
but Chippa was different because Pirates had decided. I was head coach, but Pirates then, after 13 games or so, Pirates decided they wanted a different coach, and someone more experienced, and they were not really. And I don't talk a lot about this, but it was probably the most painful moment in my career, stepping down from Pirates. And even though the chairman, Dr. Koza, was insistent of me to stay, but how things had happened, and many things happened in that time, hurt me a lot. And so my career in that time, I don't think I was thinking about anything else except being on the pitch, finding happiness for football once again. And I could have gone to Black Leopards. It was not possible. And then I got the opportunity to go to Chippa. But it was not even about the club. It was just about finding love and passion for football again, and being on the pitch again, and coaching again, because I was, and still today I'm deeply scarred by what happened. And that's why I don't talk a lot about it. So the conditions and the context to go to Chippa was completely different. And then I was fortunate enough that I went back to Sundowns. From Sundowns, I maybe also, people say to me, because there was talk of me going to Al Ahly, but I don't think, with Pizzo, but even after Sundowns, because even though they had Marcel Koller, but there was a lot of talk between my representatives and Al Ahly. And had I been a bit more patient, probably
That's my point, though.
Yeah,
You know,
but I don't think going to Wydad was a mistake. I think was an incredible. I tell you, was an incredible 8 months for me. Oh, unbelievable. And then after Wydad is Moludia, and for sure I have no regrets.
So far, it's going good. Okay,
No
the second
regrets.
thing I want to challenge you on
Yes.
is a quote that you said when you said the ambition, you're at Sundowns, the ambition to win the Champions League is a dream and not an obsession.
Yeah.
At the time on my podcast, I criticized you
Yes.
for that a little bit.
Yes.
Just to be completely upright with you. Just because I see these other clubs.
Yeah.
And it's unhealthy. It's toxic to the point like where like Al Ahly, where they'll stop at nothing. This is football. I've heard stories where you know they're trying to make travel conditions difficult. They'll 100%. Do this or that, and it's unhealthy almost. This difference between dream and obsession. Yeah. How do you differentiate the two? Why did you make this quote here?
Because like I say, my perspective on life in general is positive. I look at things when many people view things from for an example, many coaches look at football from the defensive organization. My start of football is the foot has to be on the ball. So it's being in possession of the ball. That's where I start. I'm always a person that tries to look at life and situations in a positive way. And as you say, what feelings do you associate with obsession? Toxicity, negativity, where you can stop at absolutely everything. You can do anything to achieve this thing that you are obsessed by. But me, I dream. I dream not only in my sleep. I dream in my day-to-day, how I carry myself, the visions I have for what I want to achieve, to win Champions League. For me, that's a dream, because that means that even if I fail, I give it my all. But even if I fail, I find enough motivation to go again. But an obsession is different in the sense that you are so obsessed with achieving this thing that you're prepared to do whatever it takes to achieve this thing. And if you fail,
implodes.
But when you dream, you find reasons to go again.
Do you dream of being a good coach, or are you obsessed with being a good coach?
No, I dream of being a good coach. I'm obsessive. Yes, I'm obsessive in some of my traits, for sure.
To the detriment of your own personal life.
Yeah, and my personal life suffers. My health suffers because I don't sleep much. But it is because I'm feeding my dream, and sometimes even my players suffer. Because I put a lot of pressure on my players to perform and to every single day to give their maximum. This is but I believe that when I look at, because I study not just top coaches, I study top achievers and people who have achieved great things in life, whether it is through business, your Warren Buffetts, or through politics. You can go into the Roosevelt brothers from a leadership perspective. You can go to music and entertainment. You go into different spheres of sport, golf, tennis. Anyway, they are. Success has the same clues. I say this, and a lot of the people who succeed in life are people who say, I know the direction I want to go, and I am clear and to the point of obsession, that I am very, very clear that this is where I want to go. And even in the difficult moments, I find a way to re-navigate myself back into the path and align my work with a lot of intentionality. And for that, you need a lot of commitment, a lot of discipline, a lot of dedication, a lot of passion. But you also need this bounce back ability. And if you're afraid of taking the difficult jobs because you're afraid of failure, 9 times out of 10 you don't succeed. And it is the welcoming of failure, the welcoming of knowing that you will have to deal with failure at a certain point, that you actually introduce yourself to success. And many people many people, because of their fear of failure, don't make certain decisions in their careers, in their space. And this actually then limits the potential success that they can achieve in their career.
The last thing I want to challenge you on, and then we're just going to do some quick fire questions and get you back to training. Two matches haunt me from your career. Matches in which you dominated. Semifinals, both of them. We did, I think, in 2023. That was right before I spoke to you, and then Esperance the year after. And the thing that interests me and haunts me about them both, and one of the things that, again, I've criticized you for, these matches, it's crazy because you dominate. And you could see that, like, what you're doing on a training pitch clearly worked. Your game plan worked. And then you're undone by individual mental mistakes. I would never ask you to throw your players under a bus. I know your relationship with them and everything like that. Does the buck always stop with the coach? Meaning, it's not the players that made mistakes at times were very experienced players as well.
True.
But could you have brought another player, for example? Could you have started another player? Is that your responsibility? Or was it in training sessions that you should have had them maybe at another heightened level of, I don't know, awareness? Or how much of it is your fault? How much of it is arbitrary and it's just, a fact of life that, I just want to know how much responsibility you take for those two losses in particular, Wydad and Esperance.
A lot. In hindsight, and hindsight is always is very dangerous hindsight, because with hindsight comes could have, should have, would have, and hindsight, if only taken at its bare level, without a sense of education. Education for me, more education, because there's lessons out of all of these things. For an example, we did semi-final. There was a huge discussion from the technical bench after we scored the second goal to introduce another defender. And we discussed it, and it was something we were preparing. But football happens. But what many people don't remember is that a few minutes towards the end, Nasir has a ball inside, a space inside the box. I think Cassius Mailula should make the pass, and Nasir scores. It's a clear goal, but doesn't. And everyone remembers the own goal and forgets but football is this, whether or not, and I would never, I'm not this coach.
That's not the plan.
I don't, I will never, and I never have, and I never will. And I tell this to my players all the time. Behind closed doors in the meeting room, believe me, I am very honest with my players, very, very honest. And that's why sometimes my players don't really welcome are not really excited to go into meetings with me, especially after a poor performance, because we are very honest with each other. And sometimes I've made mistakes. But in the end, this game, unfortunately, in the end, this game is a game where the responsibility lies at the end with the coach. And if you don't take this responsibility, you don't deserve.
But are you taking it to protect your players, or do you really believe that you could have done something more to influence the result?
You can always do more as a coach. You can always do more. But yeah, of course, there are when you review the game and you sit with the players, you analyze, but also I maybe not just from a stoic perspective, because I'm very stoic in my outlook on life. When I was introduced to stoicism, I could resonate a lot with this perspective, and so from a stoic perspective, what must be will always be. And then also I'm extremely religious, and so I have this belief that what God wants to happen will always happen. Sometimes we want to take fate into our own hands, and we believe we are so powerful that we control destiny. And it's actually not true. We can position ourselves to meet certain frequencies. This is my belief, and certain blessings that God has for all of us. And this is not just whether you are Muslim, you're Christian, and all of this. I think there's a genuine belief across all religious boards that there is one God, and from God there are blessings. But also there are things that happen for reasons beknown only to God. There are things that happen in our lives. And I always believe that in the moment, even though it might not look positive, but for an example, maybe had I won the Champions League with Sundowns, I would not have had the opportunity to be at Wydad. It's been probably one of the biggest achievements in my career, coaching Wydad. With that context, having no players, having no transfer budget to get players, all free, having to sign 29 players, free loans, taking the team of Wydad's capacity from finishing sixth with Jabran, Atiyad Allah, that team. And they leave, the best players leave, and you've got to rebuild the team, and you finish third for me, and you finish third, unbeaten. The longest winning streak of 5 matches winning in a row, something that hasn't been done even after me and was not done for many, many years before me. That achievement for me ranks up amongst one of the best achievements in my career, where I genuinely felt tested and pushed to the level that I believe I'm a better coach today. Moludia has a better Rhulani, a better person, but also a better coach. And in retrospect, maybe had we won those semifinals and won the Champions League, I wouldn't be here enjoying an incredible moment of my career at an incredible club, with an incredible opportunity to make football history. Already we have made history in the sense that this is the greatest start of a season to the club's history, and having played so many young players. This is the first time this has ever happened in the history of this. So yeah, the negatives were there, but these things happen sometimes for our own good, because there are bigger and better challenges that lie ahead for us.
I'm going to ask you a direct question now.
Yes.
I'm done challenging you,
Yes,
kind of,
yes,
but I'm
yes.
going to ask you a direct question.
Yes.
Answer how you want. I'm
Yeah,
not trying to make headlines and everything like that. What was your reaction to the CAF Champions League draw? Briefly.
Positive.
Everyone has an ego. We all try to suppress our ego. Everyone has
Ego
an ego.
is good.
Yeah. Immediately after you left Sundowns, you spoke to Big Rob.
Yes.
You said that you felt you didn't want to leave Sundowns. You felt like your hand was forced. That's what you said at the time.
Yeah.
Reports come out that your relationship, maybe with some elements of the technical direction, were untenable. Deep down, is there not a speck of you, deep down, that wants to beat Sundowns 2 times to say, you made the wrong decision, you should have backed me? Or is it all clearly about, this present team winning as many matches because you're the coach of MCA and so on and so forth?
What happens in life, unfortunately or fortunately, is that God sees everything, and that at the end, I leave it there. When you inflict pain on people, and this is my own perspective, even on myself, because I make mistakes. I hurt people too.
Sure. We all do.
Exactly. And so you have this clear understanding that when you do bad, it has a way of coming. And so you are not God to be able to be responsible for inflicting or revenging the pain that has been inflicted on you. So I don't have this outlook on I don't have this within me. Football is football, and there's a reason why we have to play Sundowns, and it's from a football context. It's a great opportunity for the club. It's a great opportunity for the players to test themselves against the team that was at the Club World Cup,
final,
a team that was in the final of the Champions League. And so that is how I look at it. It has absolutely. I'm the least important person in a football club. The coach is the least important person in a club.
That's what a coach is supposed to say. I don't.
No,
I don't
no,
believe that for a second.
no, not a lot of. Some coaches think they are more important but my opinion is that I'm the least important person. The game belongs to the players.
Agree personally. Yeah, I agree with that, but I don't agree that you're the least important person. When I say Mamelodi Sundowns, what's the first thing you feel?
Appreciation.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to coach Sundowns. I'm very appreciative of the responsibility that and the support, to be honest with you, that Dr. Patrice Motsepe and the Motsepe family gave me. I'm very appreciative of my time there, the blessings, the growth that I experienced there. I'm very appreciative of the love and the support I continue to get from the fans, from the players. And there's a deep sense of gratitude.
How do you think the fans are going to welcome you back? There was an incident in 2021 when Pizzo came back, but I don't think this is the same context. You still remain very popular with Sundowns fans.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope I get a good welcome, but that's not important. I think what's important is I think the fans and I hope the club also understands that I'm very proud of my time there. I'm very appreciative of my time there. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity that they gave me. I am very grateful, and I know that I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for my time at Sundowns and my time at Orlando Pirates, both Dr. Koza and Dr. Patrice Motsepe. And maybe that is why
Giants.
Yeah, maybe that is why leaving both clubs has hurt me so much. It's still till today, it evokes a lot of pain when I think about my time when I had to leave. But you only experience pain when there's a deep devotion. And so
that means it was a meaningful relationship.
Exactly. And still means there's
love.
There's love, and there's a certain connotation that money cannot buy, but that is because of my appreciation for and I hope they know this. I hope Dr. Koza knows this. I hope Dr. Patrice Motsepe knows this, and the family, that I hope they know that I'm very grateful. I might have made mistakes for sure. And I hope they forgive me for the mistakes that I've made. And also, I hope they know that there are many, many things that hurt me personally as a human being, not the coach, but as a person, that happened, that hurt me deeply. But I think I will find, as time goes, find the space of forgiveness, and because we have to, we have to forgive and we have to move on. But I hope fundamentally, the most important thing is I hope they know that I'm extremely grateful.
I think they do. I've heard coaches say they want their players to play with emotion, but they don't want them to be emotional. Can emotions cloud the judgment of game management as a coach?
Oh, this is not a short. This is not a quick fire question.
I need it to be quick. No, we're going quick fire next because we got 20 minutes, so you got to get back to training.
Yes, very complicated question, especially because I'm very big on psychology, very big on neuroscience, and yes, to a certain degree, it is true that if you are too emotional, but that also depends on what you mean by emotional.
Healthy emotions.
There's healthy emotions. And you spoke about ego too. There's a healthy ego, part of the ego that makes you extremely competitive. Zakaria Naiji is every single day he wants to win. I love that, and that sometimes represents your ego. And I think you don't reach the certain levels of success if you don't possess this, for sure. But it's too complex of a
we'll leave that for another
question to answer it within 10 minutes.
5 quick fire questions, and then we're gonna finish. Okay, your favorite non-African player and team to watch at the moment, and why? Non-African.
Non-African.
Yeah.
Favorite non-African player
and team.
Watch.
We've spoken about Bayern Munich.
I'm not so sure. I'm watching Bayern a lot at the moment because I'm trying to study them and see why they've gone so many games unbeaten. Why they are such a problem for the big teams. It will be interesting their next game against Arsenal for me, because I think Arteta also is someone that is very, very, a very, very good coach. I would say it's a very interesting question. I've got quite a few players that I like. I like Dembele for his influence and how he decides games. Kvaratskhelia has always been a player that I like at the moment.
Artistic.
Semenyo is a player I like a lot in one more. So yeah, I don't know, but he's African, so maybe not.
No, we'll take those three. We'll take those three.
And team, yeah, I'm watching a lot of Bayern. I watch a lot of Man City. I watch a lot of PSG. To study, I watch a lot of Arsenal to study the game, their schemes, their principles, how they do certain things. So yeah, I would say those three.
Who will win the African Cup of Nations? No Morocco, no Algeria, no South Africa.
Sure, difficult. Senegal have a good team, very strong shout. But yeah, I think Senegal, Morocco, Algeria, because I'd love to see Gendous. I'd love to see Gendous win it. Gendous is incredible, too, unbelievable leader, charismatic presence in the change room. I like that. I like a lot his leadership, and I'd love to see him. And of course, South Africa.
Yeah,
I've got many players there that I'd love to see them succeed. Debza, Shishi, Sipombule, Sailor, Ronza.
Such a good team.
Ronwen. I'd love to see him on the podium lifting. There's many players that I've worked with and that are very close to my heart, and I'd love to see them succeed and win the Afcon one.
This one will make a South African tabloid. Which South African youngster will play in the European Champions League? There's Rhulani Mokwena, there's Mbokazi, there's Siyabonga Mabena. Have you watched Emil Witboy at the young?
Yeah, good player.
I like him, entertaining.
I like him a lot. Good potential. Has a lot of very good qualities. There's a lot of very good young players coming. Even Letlako. I've got a lot of high hopes for Letlako. Malibonga, Koza. Koza was a very interesting player.
Great passer.
Not a lot of people know that there was a time where he was almost released from Sundowns, and I fought I don't even think he knows this, but I fought a lot to keep him there. The coach, the DDC coach at the time was Coach Temba, and I insisted with him, play him, and to play him a lot at centre back to get him to play the Rivaldo Kutsi role. Of inverting John Stones into the midfield, because he was originally a defensive midfielder.
You could see that.
Yeah, he was originally a defensive midfielder, and there was a time when the club felt that he had no future in the club, and I'm very proud to see what he's achieved. But not a lot of people know this story, that there was a lot of discussions behind the scenes. Coach Mangoba knows, because Coach Mangoba and I shared the same sentiments about the player. And we had a lot of, unfortunately, he backed me a lot on this when I said the player has to stay, the player has to play, because he's got a lot of potential. And I'm glad to see that we were right, and the boy is proving to be a player that is showing immense potential.
We'll conclude with this. When we spoke in 2023, at the end of the interview, and it's not in the article, but we bonded a little bit over grandparents that we never really got to speak to or connect with. Yours had passed away far before you were born, and I'm speaking about your grandfather, Eric Sono, and mine sort of, by the time I became an African football journalist, it sort of checked out mentally. You said in that article, though, the expectation and the pressure that I live under and with every single day is that I have to work twice as hard to make sure I continue the legacy of my family. Is that statement still relevant? Is it still does it still inform your coaching on a day-to-day basis?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned also that Eric Sono visited you in your dreams before taking the Orlando Pirates job. You still dream of him?
Yes.
I know you're a spiritual and religious person, you just said. Do you believe in destiny?
Yes.
Because I've been reading a lot about Eric Sono in preparation of this interview. I think I told you. Yeah.
You shared an incredible article with me.
Shout out to Dr. Peter Alegi from Michigan State University, who sent me that. But I did find this passage, and I want you to read it out. But before reading, do you know what he wanted to do after playing?
Yeah, he wanted to be a coach.
You just read this out.
Yeah. So this article...
You've read this one. You've seen this before.
Yes, I've seen this interview. It's Dr. Koza shared this with me.
Just the highlighted part.
Yeah. He said he'd like one day to start up a proper coaching school. You know, there's not enough coaching done.
So when I see, like, your grandfather passed away at the age of 27, he was the captain of Orlando Pirates. 30,000 people attended his funeral, the biggest in Johannesburg at the time. His teammates were there. And I think the main sadness was that, he was a working class star that never got to fulfill his potential. But when I look at your family, I see that his sons fulfilled his sporting potential. And then now I see that you, Coach, honestly, I think you're sort of fulfilling what he wanted to do after playing. So not trying to butter you up, not trying to tug on the heartstrings or anything, but I think if I insist on interviewing you at times, if I think I appreciate you as a coach so much, it's because you have everything. It's not just the technical part, it's not the tactical part, but I think even this, like the metaphysical part of it as well, it's all sort of packaged as one in your story. And I think that's why you mean so much to not only South Africans, but I think all of us as Africans as well. So I truly believe what you're doing here in Algeria is going to drastically accelerate football development here. So I thank you for that as an Algerian football fan, and thank you for your time as an African football journalist.
Yeah, it's incredible how you finish the interview. I always say to people that I hear so many great things about
Eric.
Yeah, my late grandfather, and many incredible stories from incredible people. Dr. Kaiser Mutaung, the chairman of Kaiser Chiefs, Dr. Koza himself, his kids, Jomo, my father, his late wife, my grandmother, and I always say that if I could ask God, if God would come and say to me, if you can ask me just one thing, what would it be? And I think I would ask to spend just one day with this man, just one day.
What would you talk about? Football, life, everything?
I would need a lot more time
longer than this interview.
Yeah, but I would, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I would talk about football, his career, his experiences. I would ask for a lot of advice. I would ask for his opinion on some of the decisions I've made. Yeah.
Just from the attributes that people have described him as: quick, in terms of wit, personable, tough. He was a boxer and creative on the pitch. I think all those things, I can sort of see them in you too. No. And honestly,
the boxing, no,
not the boxing maybe, but everything else.
Yeah, but I hear many great things, and may his soul continue to. What an incredible man! May his soul
rest in peace.
Rest in peace,
Coach. Thank you for that interview.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Take care.